at NYU, who co-sponsored this event tonight and made this dialogue possible. We are also excited about collaborating on this event with the Italian Cultural Institute, and we hope to continue to strengthen this partnership. After the program, we hope that you will join each of us for a short reception following the conversation. So I take great pleasure in introducing our special guest this evening. Emiliano is a young, talented Italian writer. He graduated in History of Religions and made his debut when he entered his very first story in a national contest and won. Some of his works are recognized as having a high cultural value and are used in elementary and high schools. In 2012, the City of Rome sponsored the event celebrating his book release of On the Edge, which has since been translated in English. It was widely reviewed in the national press and presented on numerous radio and television channels. In 2013, a new and entirely rewritten version of Ordinary was published. It was the first AR book in Italy, and in February 2014, a cartoon version, Ordinary graphic novel, was also published. Emiliano also writes for the screen and is also a scriptwriter. And we will now transition to a short video clip. And again, thank you all on behalf of NYU DC for coming out this evening.
I can't say I have any literary references as such. For me, writing is such a personal and intimate need that it follows its own dictates and comes from within. Of course, I recognize and admire the talent of great writers like Edmund White, Gore Vidal and Elsa Morante. When I won a major literary prize, I took part in the competition without much conviction, so that winning it astonished me totally and little spark. But it was only after my first book was published that I realized the effects writing could have on people's consciousness. And at that point I saw it as an instrument for fighting and informing people, as my way of being. Ordinary is a very complex project. A total rewrite after 10 years to produce a new work. Making a graphic novel of it put me to the test in a new environment. A totally involving experiment with the latest technologies, applying augmented reality to the book and showing videos for my readers. Without any doubt, what if Bambi were a trainee? It's the work that has changed my life, and is also the one to which I'm most intimately attached, because of its social value and its shameless vivacity, just like me. I can't help liking it because it's the work that has opened the gates of America for me and will soon be made into a film, to my immense satisfaction. Thank you, and ciao.
Welcome to everyone in this nice room, in this nice hall at the New York University here in Washington, and also welcome to anyone who is watching us via streaming. And tonight I have the pleasure to interview a young emerging Italian writer, Emiliano Reali. This is really my pleasure. Welcome, Emiliano. And how do you feel being interviewed for the first time here in Washington, in the United States?
Good evening to everyone. It's a great joy for me to be here tonight. And first of all, I want to apologize for my English because I have been a writer since 14 years, but it's my second interview in English, my second presentation in English. So I will try to do my best, but I'm really happy to be here. It's a really nice challenge for me to be here after several years of career in Italy, and it's a big emotion because it's the possibility for me to have a wider audience and to reach much more people as possible with my books and with the messages that I hope to give to people through my books.
Okay. Let's start with an easy question.
Yeah.
The last video that we just watched, the nice video, it introduces you as a dreamer.
Yeah.
It is something that, do you feel like a dreamer, or you just think that it is something that other people sees in you?
Okay. I think it depends on what you mean with the dreamer, because if you mean that a dreamer is one we have the head in the clouds, I'm not. I think that to be a dreamer, actually, in 2014, means to don't accept the reality if you don't like it, and to try to change the reality to obtain a reality that is better, where people don't suffer, where people don't accept racism, don't accept discrimination. Well, if to be a dreamer means that I'm sure that it's possible to have a different world, I am a dreamer.
Okay. I understand your point, and so what does it mean? What should mean being a dreamer, and why it is so important? You already anticipated it a little in your answer, but I think that it is such an important side of your career that people might want to know more about that.
I think that to be a dreamer is strictly connected with the view that you have of the life. So what I mean is everyone happens something that can cause you pain, something that makes you suffering, but the difference between a person that decided to be positive, to face the difficulties, to achieve his goals, to achieve what we really think is important, make the difference. So for me, to be a dreamer means to accept also my weakness and my fragilities, but don't allow them to stop me, but they are the starting point to try to change the reality.
In some way, you were describing a dreamer a little bit like a fighter.
Yeah.
So again, do you feel like you are a fighter, or it is just something that people see in you?
I think that these two words, dreamer and fighter, are strictly connected, because if you are a dreamer, so you hope to in a better world and you have a different view of life, but you don't fight to obtain this, it's a useful view. On the contrary, if you are only a fighter, but you fight for something that you don't know for what to fight, your fighting is unuseful. So to be a dreamer is strictly connected with to be a fighter, because with dreaming you can change the world, but you will be able to change the world only if you fight to obtain this.
That's and this is something that it is true for everybody, and it is there is a lot of people who follows your example, and but again, you in some way skipped a little on the answer, because what does it mean for you being a fighter?
Being a fighter means to have the braveness to make choices. For example, when I was younger, I think about 10 years ago, I was a manager in a HR field of an important international company. So I had an already written future, a smart future, a brilliant future. I got a lot of money, my family was so happy about my life, but I think that it was not the way I wanted to live anymore. And so I decided to leave my job to be a writer, because I think that to be a writer means to be in contact with person, to share emotion with person, to share experiences with person. And so sometimes it's difficult, because you know, I am from it now I'm here in New York University, I'm really happy, but I live in Italy, and to live with, in the culture field in Italy is really hard, because culture doesn't pay, because a lot of times the government or the institution don't give enough space to culture, to quality, to things that make people grow up. And they prefer to give spaces and money and attention to something really commercial. So to be a fighter means to make really difficult choices, to decide to change your life also when all the other people are against your choices, because you are the only responsible of what you do and what you are going to live. And so I think that it's a fighter means also this.
Okay. Well, of course, luckily, sometimes the government institutions help the artists to express themselves,
Yes,
and so
yes.
we had this beautiful opportunity tonight too. But did you, in your career, did you meet other fighters, or there's people that you met that went after your example as a fighter?
Yeah. This is a really good question, because this is the right place to say thanks to all the people that I met in these years that helped me. I never had a recommendation. I never jumped in bed when I was invited to. So I got all this by myself, and thankfully to people that share with me my vision of life, my vision of writing. And so I think that we have created a sort of circle, you know, with all these kind of professionals, and each one helped the other. And so I think that this could make the difference.
And I understand from your words that you fight your battles as a writer. That's the way you fight, the right way to do that in your own life.
Yeah. For example, you can imagine that my first novel, Ordinary, was a romance about the life of a really young homosexual guy. And so it describes the difficulties of this boy in living in Rome, in a city where sometimes homosexual people are not accepted and are discriminated. So my book was a sort of denunciation. Okay.
You can tell it as a scream.
Okay, right. It was a scream, because I don't want that other boys anymore will suffer because of their sexual orientation. I hope to achieve with fighting and with my books some result to make people more conscious about this point, because no one deserves to be judged for his color of the skin, for his religion orientation, or for his sexual orientation. So what I try to do with my books is surely this. I fight through a clear message. Everyone is perfect in the way he is. No one can judge him, because no one is in condition to judge the other for these kind of reasons. For example, in my second romance, What If Bambi Were 20, that was my masterpiece, and I'm really grateful to this book, because it gave a really fortune to me. I spoke about transsexual people, and so I wanted to try to explain to people that doesn't know nothing about LGBT environment, what does it mean to be a transsexual people and live in the modern and contemporary society. So this is my way to fight. So what I did in my books in several years is to try to give a voice to people, to groups of human beings that have no voice and that sometimes have not the strength to scream themselves to the other. This is.
Yes, and this is something that you told me when we were chatting before starting this presentation. You feel very important to help people understand that they are not alone, that
Yeah.
someone faces their same challenges and someone can make it.
Yeah.
And do you think that you succeed in it? Is people coming back to you, coming back at you and saying, okay, thank you for your help?
Well, I can say that I wouldn't be the Emiliano that I am now without my readers, without my friends, because I prefer to call them my friends, because every day they write me by email or on Facebook or on other social network, and they show me their affection and what my books could do for them, from their life. It's really important, because when a young boy write me after I read your book, I'm much more scared about disease and I use condom when I have sex. For me, it's really important, because it's a way to save some guys from something really bad. When someone else write me and say, oh, I read What If Bambi Were 20, and I decided to see to my family what I want to do with my life, it's fantastic. And without their feedback, I think that I wouldn't be the same, because sometimes I feel really weak and I feel in difficulties. And sometimes I say, oh, Emiliano, you chose really the wrong way, because to be a writer in this period is so difficult. But it's enough. I receive their email, I chat with them, and I feel better. So they are my strength. Absolutely.
Yes, well, and I can tell that this is absolutely true, because we have spent a few hours together, and you spent, I think, almost all your time chatting back with your, can I call them friends, or they are readers, just readers for you?
Yeah.
And you just told us that at the beginning of your career, not only just at the beginning, sexual orientation was the main focus of your works. But now this last one, On the Edge, is slightly different.
Yeah.
So what kind of topics are you?
On the Edge is a book composed by 7 short stories. Almost all of them are true stories, because I want to give voice to different kind of person that had really particular history and really particular experiences. For example, I tell about the history of a black African Italian child that grew up in Rome in a really dangerous and poor area, but his athletic talents saved him from discrimination and racism. So it's a really nice history, because it shows us how it was possible to save himself by a lot of bad dynamics through the passion, the talent in the sport field. Another history is about a woman that has a daughter, and this daughter was autistic. And so he has like blocked in her body, and he has no way to communicate with the world, with the other person. But the only way she has to communicate is when his mother touches her shoulder. And so in this case, she can sit in front of the laptop and write down her emotions. So it was so moving for me, and the syndrome that this girl has is called syndrome of Angelman. But it was so moving because this girl was so wise. Because when I read what she wrote, it was so surprising for me. Because she was not hungry against the world. Because I think that if I were in her situation, I would say every day, why it happened to me? Why I have to face every day these terrible things? She wasn't. She was happy, and she was afraid for the life of his little sister, of her mother. So it was fantastic, because this person that at the first looking seemed a not lucky person, instead of this, teach me a lot.
So in this case, you met another dreamer and fighter,
Yeah.
and you have been the writer, being able to express, to tell everyone her story.
Yeah.
That's the way you feel, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I know that you chose a reading from
Yeah.
your book,
Yeah.
and maybe you want to introduce the reading and explain why it is so important
Yeah.
for you.
This, the story where the reading is taken is The Grotto, and it's a story that I'm really connected with, because it's a really intimate story. You can feel inside of the words. I used to write it, the difficulties when you feel not comfortable with the idea of that the other have of you, about you. And so you live constantly a contrast between what you really feel to be and what you feel people think about you. And sometimes it's really hard, but I think that every time, and this is a topic point of On the Edge, when we are on the edge of the cliff, when we don't know where to go, when we don't know what to decide for our life, we have always a choice. You can look down and say, no, Emiliano, you cannot do it, you cannot face it, or you can look straight on and say, yes, you can do it, open your arm and take a flight. And so I think that you will enjoy this reading.
Please, Alexandra.
Sure. The Grotto. Red ink for my sob that won't come out, still longing to launch itself into the void, trusting that there won't be a well of tears awaiting you. I am weak, wounded. I'm not healing as I should, or rather, as the others think I can. I am not only light, and I feel it. I feel the cold of a wet towel wrapped around you when the wind rises suddenly. I feel the dampness of my face with its strong colors to appear beautiful even when it would rather hide in silent obscurity. The folds of skin tell of surprises, betrayals, joys with an ephemeral taste, fruit too ripe that a day later is no longer edible and you regret not gathering. Alone, alone with me. But what is this boulder on my heart? Who threw it? I can't inflict this torment on myself all alone. To punish me, and for what? Your hardness is an insult, sincerity for vomiting your own dissatisfaction. Those cynical words are tiny needles that burn more every day as they penetrate the flesh. I'm no longer a fascinating, beardless boy, and with all my heart I wish that people should not continue to believe that that is my image. Perhaps only then they would see what's real. The moon screams words of love that I'm unable to understand. The grass props up my feet, struggling not to give way to my weight. An ancient sickness, a dirge for lonely nights, rents that open my side, showing a still immature beating. Alcohol and words wheel around me, jumping from chair to chair, or modulating sad songs on a keyboard. And I, motionless, with the expression they all know, am prey to a violent and furious vortex. You can't leave behind the demons, not even with the most comfortable and nippy gym shoes you've ever seen. The drops of your sweat fall to the ground like crystal flakes, only to break, with their cry reflecting their light for the last time.
Thank you, Alexandra.
Thank you, Alexandra. So I think that we are coming to an end of this interview, and it's the moment to thank again the New York University and the Italian Cultural Institute that helped this presentation to happen. And I don't know whether you want to say something to greet everyone, and then the people, the audience, if you want to come and ask questions to Emiliano, he will be available to do it now or later during the reception.
Yeah. I want to say again thanks to everyone for coming. I want to say thanks to New York University. I want to say thanks to Michele Giacalone of Italian Cultural Institute of Washington. And I want to say thanks to you, Paolo, because you share with me this important moment of my life. And I want to say thanks to my publisher, D-Books, because he believed in me and he made it possible. Thank you to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Emiliano.
Grazie, Paolo.
Oh, wait, I think that they are recording it anyway, so...
There is a microphone here.
There is a microphone for you.
Are your books published in a print edition or like ebooks?
Okay, actually is only a printed version, but as soon as possible will be available also an ebook version. Because I know that in America is an instrument that will really work out. In Italy, no. In Italy, the market of ebooks is not working in a really good way, but in America it's the contrary, and so in a few days, shortly, it will be available also like ebook. Yeah, absolutely.
Any other question?
Will you be planning to come back to the United States soon?
Well, I think that I will come again to United States on June 2015 because will be published What If Bambi Were Training in English version, and there is a movie production, the big production, that is a movie production of Florida, Orlando, that has optional the cinematography rights, and so I will be so happy to come back here for the publishing of the book and for the movie, absolutely. I hope that if everything will work out in the right way, I will be half in Italy, half in the United States, absolutely.
Yeah, could you, do you mind telling us a little bit about your forthcoming work, or is there anything else, any new productions that you're looking at doing for the new year, or could you talk about that?
Okay, sorry. Mi ha chiesto se... Okay.
Nuovi lavori, stai lavorando a qualcosa?
Okay, as I told before, I'm waiting for the publishing of What If Bambi Were Trained in America in the English version, but I've already written the sequel of What If Bambi Were Training, and so perhaps it will be published before in Italy, in Italian. And actually, I've finished to write also other 2 books, but I cannot say anything till now. So I have a lot of programs, a lot of planning, and we'll see what happens in the future.
So again, thank you to everyone for coming, and I think that we can go and enjoy the reception right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again.
Thank you again.